way. Get a good job with more pay than you're okay. Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands, then make a stash.
Good morning. Nice and warm in here, huh? Trying to be. You can clap for yourselves for paying for the heating bill. Nice job, everybody. Good work. I love it. People think that stuff's free. That's not free. You pass that basket around, we get to turn it up 1 degree when you give. So if you want 59 degrees, that's a totally different level of giving, people. So no, it's good to see everybody here. My name is Ryan. This was one thing I've learned, and I just realized this as I was sitting out there, that my hat has like writing on it right here. And some of you will spend the whole time trying to figure out what that says. So I'm going to tell you right now, it just says Bearded Man Coffee Company. That's all it says. Feel free to Google it if I get boring. I don't know, figure out what it is, but that's what it says. I feel every time if I'm wearing something that has writing on it, surely somebody comes up after, I just needed to see what it said, which meant they had no clue what else I was talking about for 45 minutes, which yes, I'm going to talk for 45 minutes. No, hopefully I won't. I'm going to do my very best not to do that, all right? So good to see you right, Greeley table over here. I want to thank you for you all of a sudden started paying attention. That was hilarious. Like immediately every head jerked up at that table and looked over like, really? Us? What? I want to thank you for the 5-star reviews on Google and the shout out for the lemonade that we offer. There it is right there. So made my day. I appreciate that. So you can always go and leave a good review on Google. If you're going to leave a bad review, we'll just delete it. No, I'm just kidding. We can't. I'm just joking. So it's good to see everybody. My name is Ryan, the lead pastor here at Crossroads. If you're a guest this morning, thank you so much for being here. Inside of that program is my cell phone number. If you are a guest newer to Crossroads and you'd like to get together, have a cup of coffee, have whiskey, have whatever, lunch, breakfast, anything like that, I would love to do that. I'd love to hear your story, share a little bit of our story as a church, mine, answer any questions you might have, and I'm sure that especially if you're coming from another church that maybe looks like ours, you may have some questions when it's all said and done. So please shoot me a text message. Raise your hand up nice and high if you have texted me and we've actually gone out and had coffee or a drink, so you can see this is not some ploy. People actually do it. All right, so that's right there inside the program. Well, we are in a series called Dollars and Cents, where we are exploring what does it mean to kind of build our personal finances around this idea of peacemaking and what that looks like. And we promised that we'd have some fun doing this. And last week we said that we were going to start every one of these services out with a little game we like to call Win Ryan's Money. Now, to get this started, I'm going to need everybody on the count of 3 to say that game show as if it were real and like you're here and you have the chance to win $1 million, which you don't, all right? But we're going to pretend like we do, so we're going to practice it on the count of 3. You'll get better as the weeks go by. So today I have really low expectations of this. But on the count of 3, we're going to play today the game show Win Ryan's Money. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, win! Not bad. Don't give yourselves a round of applause. You started to clap for you, but it wasn't worthy of that. No, it wasn't. You were given too many participation trophies as a child, okay? So we're going to earn it this morning, all right? So last time, we are excited to play today the one and only game show. Win Ryan's Money. Very good. I'm so proud of you. Thank you very much. Here it is. Win Ryan's Money. And as you know, if you fill out your Connect card and put it in the basket or in the orange kiosk on your way out, you will be entered in to be the contestant next week to play Win Ryan's Money. And so would you do me a favor and please welcome Angel to the platform. Angel is joining us today as our contestant to Win Ryan's Money. Okay, Angel, come on up. All right, Angel, we're going to put this right here. We're going to put you right there. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to hand you that. And you can see, Angel, the first thing we're going to do is spin. And I'll just show you how this works. It's touch screen like that, how fancy we are. You can't stop it, okay? So you're going to give that a good spin to see how much of my money you're hopefully going to win or not win, if you're me. The biggest number is 100. So there's 100, 50, 20, 10, and a $1. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, $20. All right, here we go. Angel, $20.
Okay.
All right, here's your question. Your question is this. We went online, our research team here at Crossroads Church, went online, and according to Bankrate's Financial Taboo Survey of 2024, what percentage of U.S. adults are comfortable discussing their bank account balances? All right? Is it 22%, 38%, 52%, or 71%? And if you look on that back screen, you can see the percentages there. Is it 22, 38, 52, or 71? Which do you think it is?
22.
22%. Now, Angel, if you look at the very next part of that slide below,
You didn't let me cheat.
it'll tell you the actual answer if you really want to win Ryan's money.
Okay, it's 38%.
38%, it is. Okay, 38%, and so you won $20 of my money. Give it up for Angel. Thank you very much, Angel. Now, Angel, did you know? All right, so what that tells us, it's interesting. They surveyed all this things. 38%, which is smaller than, like, the people who are actually comfortable talking about their love life, right? That percentage was 47%. Do you know that people would rather talk about their credit card debt balances than their bank account balances?
Yes.
Right? They would rather do that. It's 52%. You know that 71% of the people would rather talk about their weight. They're comfortable talking. So you'd rather tell someone how much you weigh than how much is in your bank account. Your political views is even higher. 78% of people are comfortable doing that. Religious views, 81%, right? Political views, health, right? It's crazy. The bottom line is people would rather talk about anything else with people than their bank account balances, right?
Yes.
Give Angel a great big hand. Thank you very much, Angel. And you too can be a contestant on our game show next week if you fill out your Connect card. And we'll try not to make it as easy, as that, right? But it is interesting. Like at the end of the day, the data tells us that we would rather talk about anything else than our bank account balances. Like you would rather me come up to you in the atrium and ask you any other question about your personal life than, hey, tell me what's in your bank account? Has anybody ever been asked that by anybody? And this isn't just like with me or with a random stranger. It's with like friends, like people like family members. And the reality is we don't want to talk about our bank account and we don't really want to talk about finances for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is we're afraid, right? We're afraid. Now, what are we afraid of? Well, we'll be afraid for being judged. We'll be afraid if we were to tell somebody our personal financial story or our bank account balances that we'll be judged because we have too much. How many of you are afraid people would judge you for having too much money? I am, because I'm a pastor and you're not supposed to have any money. I don't know if you know that or not. That's what people think. I'm supposed to do this for free. That's nonsense. You all are not worthy of free time. I mean, I hate to break the news to you, The reality is that we don't want to, or we're afraid of being judged for having too little, right? Like how could you be your age and that's all you have saved up? How could you have had the opportunities you had? How could you have planned? So we're afraid of being judged for having too much or too little. We avoid talking about finances because we might be embarrassed. We might be embarrassed about some past mistakes that maybe we made. How many, be honest in your room, you've ever made a financial mistake in your past, right? I want to thank you for making me feel better about myself by raising your hand. Right? We don't want to talk about those ways. We might be embarrassed. Or maybe we'd be embarrassed about our lack of knowledge, right? Maybe we don't have a whole lot of knowledge about investing, or we don't have a whole lot of knowledge about, like, what is a 401k or a 403b, or what is a money market account, and we don't know what all these things stand for, or anything like that. And so we get kind of a little embarrassed, and we might feel, people are going to just think that we're uneducated, or they're going to judge us. And sometimes we don't talk about finances because we're afraid or we're embarrassed. And I think a lot of times we don't talk about finances because we were kind of raised to think that it's just a solo act, right? That it's a solo. That it's like when you sing, like you can sometimes sing a duet or an ensemble, or you just have solo performances. And we think, well, personal finances it's a solo act. I'm just supposed to figure it out on my own. That's how we do it. But what if it isn't a solo act? Like, what if personal finances, while it might be personal, it's not meant to be this like solo concert? You know, maybe it's not meant to be like a Lady Gaga show, but it's meant to be more like a 17 show. Do y'all know the band 17, the group, the K-pop? See, Greeley knows. Greeley knows. Thank you. Put that on the Google review. Thank you for mentioning the band 17. If you watch I think it was the Disney Parade 17. There's not 17 members in the band, which is fascinating. There's like 13, of which 11 traveled, but they're popular. I don't know. Some of you are Googling it right now because it's more interesting than this. I totally get it. Right, but maybe we're meant to be kind of like a boy band, right, as opposed to a solo act. But we think, well, I'm just supposed to do this on our own. And our reluctance at the end of the day to include others in this financial journey, it just puts a barrier up. It holds us back from real peace and real success in this area. I kind of think of it as like attaching some sort of a heavy weight to our backs. And when we're doing it all by ourselves, we're just kind of walking through it, and we have this like resistance. And like our scripture, our like faith tradition actually tells us this in this really big kind of idea around this idea of thinking that anything is a solo act. Like if we were to kind of look at our scriptures, we can see kind of a consistent theme. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10, for example, it says that two are better than one. How many of you have ever heard this one? Right? Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. Right? So part of the reasons why two people are better than one is because you put two people together, there's a higher reward given the risk, right? Whatever you're venturing in, you got two people there, you got two brains working, you got two people committed to moving forward together. I would say we might want to say like the right two are better than one. How many of y'all experienced the wrong two at times in your life? Like, let's be honest. General principle here, two are better than one. They have a good reward for their toil. But this is really, I think, the power of two. It says, and if they fail, like one can lift up the other. But woe to one who falls alone and fails and does not have another to help. Right? There's some real power in knowing that you're not in something alone. And it really should say for when they fail, not if. Right? We all raised our hand about making some mistake early in life. I know you're not making mistakes now, right? It was a long time ago. Right? It's when we fail, not if, it's when we fail. There's somebody there to kind of help us up, dust us off, say, I got you, we can go in this together. And I think what the wisdom here is that mutual support is a high yield investment. Right? When we actually say, I'm going to invest myself into someone else. I'm going to open my heart up. I'm going to open my finances up to someone that I trust, to someone that I think cares about me, who's not going to judge me for my goals, who's not going to judge me for my mistakes. Right? There's a high yield to that. There's a high reward. Because there's going to be moments where there's downturns. There's going to be moments where we feel like we failed, where we kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak. We've set a goal, and all of a sudden we find ourselves acting contrary to that goal, but we got somebody there to help us out. We got somebody who we're walking through, who we're just like, we're regularly committing to walking this road together. We've shared our vision together. In Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22, it says this, without counsel, plans go wrong. Without counsel, plans go wrong, but with many advisors, they succeed. Now, you generally don't want to have more than one financial advisor, right? I mean, that could be a little confusing when you have three people that seem really smart, really successful, telling you to do three different things, right? Because the truth is there's lots of ways in which people have navigated their financial worlds and have come to a place of peace and success. There's no one right path. There's no one wrong way, right? And the reality is there's this idea, and what the proverb is telling us is that when we bring people in, when we include not just one perspective, but diverse perspectives, right? There's something powerful about that. That when we lean into one person for moral support and one person for actual technical wisdom and one person who's kind of been there and maybe they've dug themselves out of a similar hole that we might find ourselves in, like those diverse perspectives, they are a crucial part of success. Right? So our wisdom and our tradition says that success, not just in finances, but in just about any area of life, really is dependent upon including those diverse perspectives and experiences. I don't know about you, but I don't just want to know about how somebody has like hit home runs every decision they've ever made in their life. Like, I want to know about the swing and misses. I want to know about the strikeouts too. I want to know about the mistakes and the lessons that were learned there. I want to know about the common mistakes. What are the common mistakes that I can avoid if I open my ears? Right? And so it's important that we learn wisdom, but not just from people's successes, because that can put us into this place where we think it's just all a string of successes and that's how we get there. But no, it's actually a series of successes and failures and one step forward, one step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but we're constantly moving forward. And so we learn from that diversity. So here's what I don't want us to miss as we're kind of into this second week, as we're thinking about our finances from a values perspective, right? That inclusion, when we take our value of inclusion, which is one of our core values as peacemakers, this idea of including people, inclusion hedges our financial lives from the need of an intervention. Right? Like, inclusion is the bringing in of multiple diverse wise voices early on in the process. An intervention is the inclusion of those same verses a little later on in the process. And I don't know that you can avoid either one of these things. You're going to have one or two of these. Like, you're going to have one of these, It's either going to be inclusion or it'll be intervention. It's either going to be inclusion on tax planning or it will be intervention by the IRS. Wise people will come in and say, we're going to put you on a payment plan because you failed to pay your taxes over the last 3 years appropriately. Right? It's inclusion of people early on around, hey, how do we save? How do we think about retirement? How do we think about goals? Or else it's an intervention with your children later on who are saying, guess what? We don't have the means to take care of you. How are we? There's these things happen. It's bringing in a wisdom of a friend early on. Before you start making all kinds of crazy purchases that you can't afford, or before I start making crazy purchases I can't afford, before I start driving far more car, right, than my salary allows for on a long-term basis. Like, there's the inclusion of people before I buy that car, or there's the intervention of debt collectors afterwards. Or there's even the intervention of people you love who are saying, we're seeing you struggling, we're seeing your health decline, like, what's going on? And you say, I got myself in over my head, I'm underwater on this or that, or I didn't make this choice or that choice. So I don't think it's a matter of, will I have people in my life when it comes to my financial health? You will. The question is, will I voluntarily include them, or will I come to a space where I need an intervention? Right? And so I want to encourage us to be people who live by the value of inclusion, that we bring our family, we bring our friends, we bring mentors into this process early. And by doing that, we're creating shared accountability. Right? We're going to find motivation through sharing our goals and through understanding another person's goals and walking together. We'll get practical help, we'll get emotional support, all these beautiful things. So what does this look like in your everyday normal life? How do you and I take this value of inclusion that we live in our spiritual, emotional lives, of including people in our church life, right? This value, how do we take it and say, okay, how do I apply it into my finances? Well, I want to encourage you, first of all, to start the conversation. That's where inclusion begins. Inclusion always begins with just the start of a conversation. So start the conversation and begin with someone you trust. Like, who in your life is someone that you trust, that you could talk about your goals, maybe talk about some of the things that are hindering you from those goals, but who could you sit down and say, hey, here's my goal, and you don't have to be ashamed of that goal, you don't have to worry about them judging you for it, you don't have to worry about them saying, well, don't you think that's a little greedy? Or don't you think, is that really all? I mean, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's all you're thinking. Like, just somebody that will come in and help honor what your financial goals are for you and for your family, and it's someone you trust because you look at their life and you go, you know what? They're kind of where I want to be, or they're on the path of where I want to be. Like, they're like living into a space that I think I would love to see in my own life. And so you can gather with that person and just start a conversation. Take them out to coffee and say, hey, can you tell me what are the highs and lows of your life financially? What are some of the best lessons you learned, the best decisions you made? What are some of the worst? I really am trying to set my financial life in order. I'm really trying to live in a way that I have peace. I want to live by values. And I look at your life and there's something about it that I think, I think it's healthy. I can remember Wendy and I, not a financial conversation, but a parenting conversation, right? Which I don't know which is harder, like parenting or managing money. Like, I don't know. I mean, money doesn't tend to talk back, and, money can appreciate in value. I find the kids just do the opposite to my bank account. But at any rate, I remember we were children's pastors way, way back, last century. It was. And and there was a family that they had two littles, and they were in our ministry, and the kids were great. The family was really wonderful. And I remember we were out, and Wendy and I sat down with them. We just said, like, tell us some of the things that you've really valued as parenting. Like, your kids seem to be really well adjusted, and you all as a family. And we just listened. And I remember they gave us some things that Wendy and I we lived by for the next 20 years. And it's crazy. Like, now I just can't get rid of my kids. They love us so much, Like, go away. But like, it's great to have 20 and 20-year-olds that want to hang out with you, right? I mean, we just are, and I credit that, quite honestly, to a very simple conversation that I don't even think I had to buy the dinner. I mean, they were like doing okay in life, so I think they bought the dinner, and I was like a 19-year-old children's pastor part-time at the church, and so they felt bad for us and took us to Taco Bell or something, I don't know. That was back when I could eat Taco Bell and not feel it for 8 days, so there's a little bit of wisdom for you. Just stop, okay? Just stop with the Taco Bell. So, like, it just goes back to that one little conversation, and it saved so much heartache, I think, because it offered really, and it was kind of counterintuitive than what you might think. One of the things that they said was, we don't hang out or do things with people that we can't bring our kids. So, like, if they developed friendships and they got the impression that these were people that didn't want their kids to be around or didn't want to do this, that for them, that was kind of a boundary. And so for years, that was kind of the way Wendy and I thought, was whatever we did, if our kids can't be there with us as participants, then it's not for us. And that was a huge thing, for our kids to just constantly be around other adults and in a space. But that was just a really simple conversation. Now, I've had lots of conversations around money that are similar in that. So what are those little conversations? You can get people's perspective. Here's the great thing about a conversation like that. You take somebody out, you listen to them. And if they start talking and you go, I was wrong, right? They start telling you stuff and you're like, that's not even legal, Like, oh my gosh, I just had no idea. Like, and they just start, you can just go, thank you. And you can leave and forget you ever had that conversation, right? Or you can learn, I do not want that. If that is the lifestyle that I was wanting, if that's the only way to get it, forget it. I don't want to have anything to do. You get to make those decisions, right? That's the beauty of kind of like a conversation. Like, don't lead, by the way, with, I'm looking for somebody to mentor me for the next 20 years. Will you do it? Right? Not a good game plan. Just a conversation, okay? And then I want to encourage you to, in your life, set shared goals. Now, this is tricky, okay? This is tricky, but find those people in your life, whether they're your intimate, immediate family, partners, kids, right? Whatever it might be, like, sit down together. So maybe you sit as a family and you go, hey, what's a goal that we could have this year for us as a family? What do we want to do for vacation this year? Where do we want to go? Maybe your family has never been on a vacation together. Maybe you've just never thought about spending money. You just sit down together and you go, what would that look like? Or maybe there's a goal in like 2 weeks to go do something together as a family here in town, and it costs money. And maybe as a parent, you have all the money already. Like, maybe you want to take your kids to Chuck E. Cheese or Dave & Buster's if you got older kids. And maybe you sit down and go, hey, let's do this in a month. Like, what do we think it's going to cost? You have a conversation. It's like, well, Dave & Buster's for 4 people, video games, it's like $8,000. So we're going to, like mom and mom, or dad and dad, or mom and dad, or whatever your family looks like, sit down and we say, well, we're going to put in 50%, or we're going to put in 75%, but you little knuckleheads, you got to contribute too. So here's the jar. We'll put in the first 6,000. You got to put in the next 2,000, right? And maybe but you have the shared goal together. Find somebody in your life who, they're sick of their job too, and they want to retire early. I'm looking. Who is that person? No, I'm just kidding. Right? And you just share that goal together, and you talk about like ways you can get there. Now, here's the thing about goals, okay? This is free, totally free, not a fill-in, absolutely free. Not even going to charge you more in the donation basket for this one, okay? Psychological studies have showed that when you set a goal, you are less likely to achieve that goal if you share it with someone. Ooh, hot twist. Some of you did not see that one coming. I've never seen so much air leave the room, you know? Yeah, it's true, because what happens is your brain, it will distribute dopamine when that person goes, that's awesome. And you get the adrenaline kick as if you had done the goal. So you make up a goal, like you say, I'm going to run a marathon, and you go to your friend, and they're like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm starting to train for a marathon tomorrow. I haven't even started training. You're just like, I'm starting tomorrow. I downloaded the Couch to 5K app. I'm kicking it, and then I'm going to run a marathon at the end of the year, at the beginning of next year. And they go, that is so amazing. I wish I could do that. Like, where did you? And they ask you questions. Your dopamine system starts rolling, and you're feeling great, and you will actually never open up Couch to 5K, because why do it now? Because this person thinks you're amazing just for thinking about doing it. Right, you get the same internal psychological chemical reward. So you have to be really careful about that and how you're sharing those goals, right? It's why people's lives on social media really don't ever match up in a lot of ways to reality, right? Because you get 1,000 likes, you're like, well, I don't even need to do it anymore. They just like that I'm doing it, or I'm thinking about doing it, right? Y'all doing okay with the TikTok thing, by the way? Whew. Man, one of my kids last night was, I don't know, I was like, I didn't realize this was such a big deal for some of you all. Like, there was like morning, we did a whole thing. So here's hoping for Tuesday, right? I mean, for those of you that like your TikTok and is like messed up, we'll do a prayer meeting, vigil, the whole thing, I promise. So set your goals together, right? Find that space. Then I want to encourage you to choose, okay? So have a conversation, start a conversation, set some shared goals, choose a coach or a mentor. I cannot say this enough. If I could jump up and down and stomp my feet, find a coach, find a mentor. In any area of life that you are starting, that you are a novice at, find a coach, invest the time, invest the money. Education is such a great investment. You will save yourself so much headache, right? So I want to encourage you to find a coach, find a mentor. And this does not have to cost you everything in your bank account right now. Some of these are free, right? Join a class, right? Do some research on different systems and programs that are out there, and join that. Or find somebody who has experience in budgeting or investing and sit down with them and learn their system. The beauty of a coach, right, is that you're going to inherit a system. I'm a systems thinking person, right? And so you're going to inherit a system that you adopt into your life because you say, hey, this fits my lifestyle, this fits my values, this fits my goals. It works for the way that my life works, right? So find that coach, find that system that can work for you and apply it. Do your research, but get a mentor. Right? And so here's the thing, like there's a couple people in our church when we said, hey, we're doing this like values-based, like I got a couple of emails from people that said, oh, I do coaching with this group or this company, or I've been doing it with this and this group, and I'd love to, if anybody wants to learn more about that. So you'll see over the next couple of weeks, these folks. Now here's the thing, like I don't know anything about their systems. It could be a total pyramid scheme. I don't know. I kind of would doubt it. They're part of a pretty good church, but you never know. No. Right? But like just like any other group that we offer here at Crossroads, like this is your church, it's your space. And so you'll see a couple of these groups. Like there's one group that's going to start up in a couple of weeks. And Katie, who's been doing some she's got that she actually learned it from a group that started here a couple years ago, I guess, maybe even before I was here, I don't know. And so she said, I'd love to introduce this to people. I found it helpful and I'm using it. And so Katie's going to be back in the atrium today. If you want to go and learn, she's going to be back over by the farm tables. If you want to just find out a little bit more and watch for that in the group's catalog, it'll show up. And I had another person who just wrote a book on this. I'm like, why aren't you doing this teaching series? What am I up here? I'm going on vacation for the next 6 weeks. No. So they wrote a book and they're traveling, and they want to help as well. So you might see these groups go listen. Now listen. But again, it's just like that conversation. You don't have to take anything in a place. Just go check it out. right? I want to encourage you, maybe there's an online community. Like nowadays, there's so many great online communities that have, hey, we're all in this for this goal. We're trying to do this, and you can hear from people, right? Maybe it's an online community. So I want to encourage you to find that mentor, okay? Now, and then I just want to encourage you to celebrate the progress together. Celebrate the wins. So when you set a goal, like celebrate that goal. I have I'm not going to tell you what it is because then I won't do it. We've already gone over that. But I've got this kind of like 5-year goal in my life. And I kind of have a plan. It's not just a hope. I got a little bit of a plan on how to get there. And again, I think everything's got to go just right or I'm never going to get there. But it's like, that's my goal. It's laid out there. And I've got a group of people that I'm tracking with on this goal, that I'm sharing my goal with, that I'm sharing my successes. And it's holding me accountable. Don't do anything stupid. Just stick with the plan, right? Simple little things. But I want to celebrate that. I was just at down in Denver with this group of people that I kind of found a collection with. And we just celebrated. I mean, for 2 hours, I heard stories of people who were finding success. And I listened to their stories and listened to some of their decisions, things like that. And that was so encouraging to just be a part of that. And to go, hey, that could be me. Right? I know it's hard to imagine that I actually have to grow. Some of you, like, your just minds are blown. Like, what? He's not perfect? I know, it's shocking. It's very humbling for me to share that with you. If you only knew how messed up my life was. Okay, so we celebrate, right? There's such power in that. We acknowledge those milestones. So when you actually get the $8,000 saved up to go to Dave & Buster's, go celebrate. Go to Dave & Buster's, but then just like celebrate, talk about it. This is exciting, right? Learn those things. And I do think that there's something really beautiful, magical that happens when we bring this value of inclusion into our financial health. I really do think it makes us better people. I think it makes the world a better place, which I think is what this is all about. In church world, like weird theological language, we would say it gives glory to God, but nobody knows what that means, so I use the phrase, make the world a better place, make me a better person. That's the glory of God manifest in the world. Okay, so that's what I mean here for those of you that prefer the nice churchy terms. Like something beautiful happens, and that is that when we include others in this financial journey, like we release out into the world some really powerful things. So we release unity, we release empowerment, and we release generosity. When we live into the value of inclusion, right, we are releasing into the world these 3 very beautiful realities. First of all, unity. Unity is about building stronger bonds with people. So we become united with family and friends. We have people to celebrate with. We have people to weep with. We have people to help us along. And I got a feeling over the next 4 years, we're going to need as much unity as we possibly can have in our lives. And I said that out loud. I just got a feeling we're going to need those spaces where we can sit together and we can celebrate and we can grieve and all of that. I think that what happens too when we include others, we are empowering. We find empowerment. Like we find a path to what we thought maybe was never possible in our financial health. And we hear the stories and we feel empowered to do that. But the other thing that's really powerful for those of you that are like maybe a few steps further along than someone else, like you become a space of empowerment. And someone's life is changed because of your story, because you took the time, because you then lived into something called generosity, that you saw your experiences as worth investing in other people. I have this kind of philosophy that we should, as human beings, we should live 10 years into the future and we should live 10 years into the past. And what that means is you should have somebody who's 10 years ahead of you in whatever arena of life you're setting goals and vision about. And you should be sitting with them and listening to them and applying their wisdom into your life. And then you should be investing 10 years into the past. You should have somebody who's at least a decade behind you, who you're systematically pouring into. Because then you are going to walk in and create a better space in 10 years that you're sitting in, your generation, your age is sitting in, and then that other generation is coming up behind you is going to they're going to do amazing things, and they're not going to have to make the same mistakes you made. And so there's an investment in the future 10 years, there's investment in the past 10 years. I think that's really powerful, and we should be doing that in the present, right? So the present, in terms of our investment into others, is 10 years in the future, 10 years in the past. And when we do that, you know what happens? You get to go further faster. Like you get where you want to go, and you think, oh man, that was a 10-year goal. I made it in 7. And look at what's happening with this person who I've poured into. Look, they're crushing it in life. Look at I wish I was where they were 10 years ago. And you get to live in that space of joy. So there is power in this stuff, not just for ourselves, but for other people. You know, we're to love our neighbor as ourselves. It's an interesting thing we miss there. And sometimes in faith, we kind of feel really weirded out about stuff like money. It's like, well, if I have money, then I'm really not loving other people. But how are you going to help people figure out personal finances and financial health and saving and all that stuff if you aren't doing it yourself, right? If you aren't loving yourself. It's an amazing reality if we can just kind of unlearn some of the stuff we've learned, especially in the faith world. Now, we're going to have communion together. And I ask this question every week. What is it that you feel like the universe is inviting you into, that divine mystery, God, whatever word you like, Jesus? I think we're all talking about the same reality. What do you feel an invitation towards from your time here today? Maybe it has nothing to do with what I said. Maybe you heard a song earlier and you were like, that song spoke to me. I'm going to go listen to that song. Maybe you feel an invitation from our moment where we just honored the life of Dr. King, and you say, you know what, I'm going to just go watch a documentary tomorrow about the civil rights movement and his life and his work, or I'm going to read letters from an Alabama prison or Birmingham jail. I'm going to go listen to I Have a Dream, that speech. Maybe you're inspired to do that, whatever. But what is it that God's inviting you into? Maybe God's inviting you to invite someone you respect out and just ask them to share their financial best practices with you. What are the best things you've learned in life? Maybe you feel this invitation that you need to meet with your spouse or your partner and just share about your financial dreams and your worries. Don't carry that burden by yourself. Just share that. And I will encourage everybody, if you don't have this somewhere in your life, start here. Start here when it comes to your living values of financial. Write out a financial why statement. Why are you doing it? Why are you trying to hit these goals? Goals in and of themselves are of very little value if they're not attached to a strong why. Why do you want to retire early? Why do you want to have this? Why do you want to pay off that? What is going on? What is it that you're moving towards? What is the financial peace and health and success going to facilitate that's of deep, abiding and sustaining value in your life? And that's where I would encourage all of us to start. Write that out. Our communion song this morning is really amazing. It's a song of invitation to a table. And it invites us all to come to this table. We have these spaces around the room, and then you have at your table. And these tables symbolize the reality that God is love, that God is a God of inclusion, that everyone is welcome. There is no class here. There is no right doctrine. There is no right theology. There's just love. And these symbols are representation of that love played out. Jesus said, no greater love has anyone than they lay down their life for a friend. And these are reminders of the life that was presented. Jesus gave his life for justice. Jesus gave his life for the love of the poor. Jesus gave his life to write and to introduce healthier ways of thinking about the divine. And so today we come, and even as we take communion, we can recognize that Dr. King gave his life in the same way for the very same things, and evil still persists, and evil still demands the sacrifice of the just. And so this song is an invitation, and it says, at the table you can come and be whole. You can come and be loved. And you can come accepted. And the joy is in just being present and being at the table. And so I want to invite those of you that are able to stand. And as we sing this song, you are welcome to come to these tables and take the bread and the juice The bread is gluten-free, so everyone can participate from a physical perspective. And I want to encourage those of you that maybe you've never done this before, like, what in the world is this all about? This is just simply an invitation to experience God in another way. That's all. So you're welcome to the table as we sing this song. The body of Christ broken for you and all 8 billion people on this planet. The blood of Christ shed for you and all 8 billion people on this planet.